Welcome to Unlocking Your Truth, another podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips.
Hello everybody and welcome to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. My name is Dr. Lesley Phillips and I am your host for the next hour. If you're tuning in for the first time, let me explain a little bit about what the show is about. It's about metaphysics and spirituality, and it's about intuition as well. So every week we have a different subject, and today we're going to talk about grounding. So I had a lady write into me last week. We were talking about grounding, and she wrote and said, I'm asking to ask you for more information about healing and grounding because I didn't fully understand from what you said last time. And she said she was Googling and searching for a definition of grounding online, but the information that she found was very different than the information that I had been talking about. And so I'd be absolutely delighted to talk about grounding. So let me explain. You are not your physical body. You are not your physical body. You are a high vibration spiritual consciousness. You are a divine being of love and light. So you're not your body. Your body is a vehicle that you have created to experience physical reality through. And it is made of dense physical matter. Whereas you, the spiritual being, you're light, your high frequency energy. Your body is a much lower frequency vibration. And so in order for your energy to flow through your body and for you to consciously operate your body in physical reality, it is necessary for you to be grounded, because the grounding makes it safe for your energy to flow through your body. And the best analogy is to think about an electrical appliance. So you all have electrical appliances in your home. And you may know that in those electrical appliances, in the plug, there's a grounding wire. And that grounding wire is to arc off any surges in the electrical current to make it safe for people to use that appliance. And it's the same principle. You have very high frequency energy, and the grounding cord makes it safe for that energy to flow through your physical body. Now, the other fantastic thing that grounding does for you is it provides you with a conduit for releasing energy. So you can release absolutely anything down your grounding, and we'll do it in a moment. You can release your pain, physical pain, your mental anxiety, emotional turmoil, your fear. You can let go of self-limiting beliefs and concepts about reality that are not working for you. You can literally change your entire life just through grounding, because you can let go of anything you want, and that creates the space to replace what you didn't want with something that, is more beneficial and more suitable for you in the present moment. So that's what grounding is. And so I'm going to just talk you through grounding. We've done this before on the show, but seeing as we've got a couple of special requests actually, I'll talk you through it. So basically what you do is you sit with your feet flat on the floor and your hands resting in your lap. And you can start by taking a nice deep breath in and out, and in and out, and then tune in or be aware of an energy center that exists near the base of your spine. So there's an energy center there near the base of your spine, and basically what you do is you create a flow of energy that goes from there all the way to the center of the earth. And it flows through all the layers of physical matter So it will flow through the chair that you're sitting in. It will flow through the floor of the room, through the foundations of the building, and all the layers of planet Earth until it reaches the very center of the Earth. So if you're doing that now, just take a moment to be aware of how that makes you feel. It might be a familiar feeling, but it might be an unfamiliar feeling. Or you might recognize that sometimes you're naturally grounded and other times you're not. So just be aware of how your body is responding to you, the high vibration spiritual being, grounding through it. And of course, like I mentioned, you can release energy down your grounding. So you might want to visualize it like it's a laser beam or a waterfall. So you get that idea of the energy flowing from near the base of your spine to the center of the earth. And just take a moment to just scan your body and notice if there's an area where you're feeling stress or tension or even some physical pain. And just start to allow that discomfort to flow down your grounding. You can send it down your grounding. You can use the grounding to give you a healing in this way. And that was actually the second part of Tamara's question, was about healing. So this is how you can give yourself a healing, by grounding, because you can release unwanted energy down your grounding. So whenever you're ready, you can just tap yourself on the knee. We're just doing that very quickly, but there's a number of shows that we've talked about grounding, and so I recommend go back over the different podcasts and listen in the different contexts that we talk about it in. Now, in Tamara's letter to me, she said that she was Googling and she was finding they were talking about all sorts of different ways to ground. And so some people will just tell you to walk around on the earth in your bare feet and say that, that will ground you. And, or go for a walk in nature, or do some physical exercise, or even deep breathing. And there's truth in all of that, because basically anything that causes you to tune in to the here and now, and to tune in to physical reality, and to tune in to your physical body, it's going to ground you. So just by breathing and focusing on your breath, that causes you to focus on your body, because it's your body that is breathing. So that in itself will ground you, connect you into your body. If you do physical exercise, that connects you with your body. If you go for a walk in nature where it's peaceful and there are fewer distractions, it can really help you tune in to the here and the now. So, and there's a lot of information out there about grounding from your feet as well. If you do Google this is probably one of the more common ones, that it will tell you to imagine that there are tree roots coming from your feet and going down into the center of the earth. That will also help you to ground. So you can ground from your feet as well as from this energy center near the base of your spine. So I hope that has helped you, Tamara, and I hope that has also helped any other listeners that were wondering about grounding. So we've got some other topics as well. So what shall it be, Corey?
Well, we have a few, and one is generality, spirituality, and we have another one here.
Smudging.
Yes, smudging is a good one. People talk about smudging a lot, and they really don't know how to do it sometimes.
That's right. Yeah, they do. Actually, people this week I've had a lot of questions this week in that sort of realm. So smudging, herbs, and crystals. I've had a bit of a trend this week on all of those things.
Smudging sounds so British.
It's not that British, though, is it?
No.
Although there's a version of it in lots of cultures, because a lot of the churches do a version of it with the incense.
Yeah.
All right. So what is smudging? So smudging is a way of clearing energy, of clearing the energy in your environment and even in your own personal energy field. It involves the use of a herb. Sage is a really common one, sweetgrass is another, and there are others as well. And basically what you do with these herbs is you have the dried herb, you light it, and then you allow it to smoulder. So you blow out the flame so that it's smoking and smouldering, and then you literally take that smoke everywhere that you're wanting to cleanse. So around your apartment, around your house, around your body. And so why does it work? It's about the energy vibration of the herb that you're using being a higher energy vibration than the negative, well, I shouldn't say the word negative, but the lower vibration energy that you're wanting to cleanse and let go of. And so it literally just helps, raise the frequency of your space and release the heavier energies. And of course, you can clear the space in your home using a herb like that. You can clear your auric field using a herb like that. But you can also use it without a tool at all and just do it with your intention. And just the way I do it myself is just working with the energy, visualizing the energy and cleansing the energy that way. But smudging is a tool for doing that. Crystals, some people use crystals. They place crystals around their home to absorb any heavier energies, take them out of the space.
Trouble with crystals is you have to realign them after a while, otherwise they can take on negative energy.
Yeah, that's right. People who are using crystals, they cleanse the crystals, they flush out the energy that the crystals have absorbed. And there's a number of ways of doing that. One way is to bury them in the earth, to bury them in sand, or to put them in running water for a time and let the water flush out the energy. But you can also cleanse the crystal with your intentions as well, by intentionally flowing high vibration, neutral cleansing energy through the crystal. And that will also reset the energy in it.
And one thing about smudging, First Nations smudge, and it's very interesting. They've been doing it for centuries, of course. But smudging, when you do it at home, I was always taught to take the smudge and go around each of the windows in your home, completely around, and each of the doorways in your home, and that allows the positive energy to stay in and doesn't allow the lower vibrations to pass through. It's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And don't use one of those big thick smudge sticks because the odor sits around for a long time.
I actually don't mind the smell of it. I find it quite pleasant.
And watch the smoke alarms, folks.
Yes.
Especially if you have a sprinkler system. So I wouldn't recommend smudging if you have a sprinkler system.
That's a good point, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't want people calling next week and say, all my furniture got soaked. Dr. Lesley told me to smudge.
Well, like I said, it's not the way that I personally do it. I personally just do it with my intention and bringing through high vibration energy through the space to flush it out. It's almost like I'll get imagine that there is this beautiful golden waterfall of energy flowing through your house, and it just flows in through the roof, and it washes down all the walls and washes over all your furniture in every nook and cranny, and it just releases that flow of energy, continues down to the center of the earth, just like we were doing the grounding cord, and it takes with it all the heavier energies. That's the way I do it.
It sounds like a deal to me.
Mm-hmm. I think we'll go for a break and then we'll come back, and we've got some more. So we've got some questions and we've got some more topics as well. everyone. Welcome back to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. My name is Dr. Lesley Phillips, and I am your host for the next 40 minutes. So we've been talking about grounding and smudging and crystals and all sorts of interesting things like that. You are welcome to phone up and join in the conversation. You can also email info@drlesleyphillips.com with your questions. So, do we have an email question, Corey, or another topic that somebody sent in?
Well, I do have a couple of email questions, and we have one from Anne. And Anne wants to know, will I get back together with my best friend?
Okay. So, of course, if you've listened before, you know one thing that I don't do is predict the future, because it hasn't happened yet.
That's why it's called the future.
That's right. You create your own reality. But I will have a look at the relationship that you're talking about and give you some information. So I'm just going to tune in to your energy and the energy of your friend. It's interesting. I'm seeing quite a big difference between you and how you're feeling and your friend and how your friend is feeling. So I'm seeing that you're wanting to mend bridges, and that you, whatever went on between the two of you, you've left it behind and moved forward. I'm seeing the friend that you're talking about is not in the same space as that. They look to be, let's see, a little bit, it's like a blend of emotions that I'm reading. One is a little bit of almost like shame and embarrassment, but also some anger as well. And so I'm just seeing that they are still caught in, sometimes when something happens and we go round and round in our minds, oh, they said that, and then I said this, and I wish I'd been more on the ball because then I could have said that, and that would have really shown them. I'm just seeing that they're caught in a little bit of a mind loop, and still chewing over what went down between the two of you, and they've definitely not let it go, and they've definitely not moved on yet. And so I would say right now in present time, it's not looking like that is likely. But, of course, people can change at any point in time. Your friend could make an energetic shift and move into a totally different space. So that's what I'm seeing, Anne, right now, is it doesn't look like that is imminent. Do you have another question, Corey?
Yes, I do. And this one is, please, and it comes from an anonymous source, please. I don't have my glasses on today, folks, so I'm having a little problem reading. Do you believe that animals can send us messages?
That's a great question. And the answer to that is yes. Yes, I do believe that animals can send us messages. And the way that animals communicate is through telepathy. So we tend to communicate with each other predominantly through language, through words, phrases, sentences, and of course, in general, they don't have a sophisticated language like we do, but they're spiritual beings and they have intuitive senses, and so animals communicate telepathically, and people who work with animals and who are animal communicators tend to have a well-developed sense of telepathy, which enables them to receive messages or communications from the animals that they're working with, and it also enables them to communicate on that telepathic level with the animals. Now, of course, animals are not the only creatures that can communicate telepathically. There's been some scientific research studying plants, would you believe it, that there's some form of telepathic communication that goes on between plants. The experiment that I read about, they had some students who, I don't know, let's say there were 5 of them, and they had plants in 2 completely different buildings, and these 4 students went into building A one at a time and did different things, So maybe somebody played their guitar, somebody else did something else, but one of them had a pair of scissors and started cutting leaves off one of the plants that was in that room. Then they took the same 5 students over to the other building, and one by one they entered the room. They had the plants connected to electrodes, and as soon as the guy with the scissors walked in, the plants went absolutely crazy. So somehow they knew they knew what had happened to the other plant, and they knew that this person had the potential to cause them harm. And of course humans also can communicate telepathically, and unconsciously a lot of us do a lot of the time. There's some typical cases that you read about that concern, twins, for example. Oftentimes they will know what the other one is doing, have the same experiences, even though they're in a separate place, and some of that can be explained by telepathy. I find that a lot of people who communicate with large groups of people are telepaths as well, because they are communicating with people who are all at different frequencies and ready to receive information at different levels, and the telepathy helps them to reach people, all those different types of people. So I veered off a little bit there from the animal communication, but the short answer is yes, they can and they do. So, how about another question or another topic?
Sure. Let's see what we have here for you. And this is from April. And April wants to know, what can I do to get out of, I don't know if this is a word, but to get out of life stagnancy today?
Life stagnancy. Okay, feeling stuck, April. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at you and why you're feeling stuck. Oh, I'm just tuning in. So what can you do to get out of life stagnancy? Well, one of the things that I'm noticing about you is it looks like part of what's causing you to be frozen is that there's some fear going on. There's some fear that's kind of disconnecting you from your God or your higher self, and also it's disconnecting you kind of from your body and the planet too. So, we were talking about the energy center near the base of the spine and how we ground from it earlier in the show. I'm seeing that some of the fear is in that energy center, and I'll see if I can give you some information on what might be causing that. Well, it looks to me a bit like, let's call it performance anxiety. It looks to me as though you are afraid of not doing things right. You're afraid of not doing things perfectly. It looks like you had an upbringing where you were put under a lot of stress by your parents to perform, to do well at what they thought you should do well at. Whether it was high marks at school or whether you were taking ballet lessons or whatever it was, it just looks like you were trained to be a perfectionist. And that's very high expectations right there. And so it just looks like you got overwhelmed with those high expectations. You got overwhelmed with... And you also internalize those high expectations. So now you are expecting yourself to... putting yourself under pressure to... just to perform at whatever you choose to do. And so I'm seeing the thing that's holding you back is fear. And what would help you is to let go of your expectations. If you could let go of your expectations of being perfect at whatever you do and just relax and give yourself permission to just have fun, to just do something for the fun of it. without needing to perform and succeed and be the best at, I'm seeing that would help. And also use the grounding technique to release and let go of the fear and to release and let go of the stuckness. Okay, well, I hope that helps you. I think we've got time for another one before we go to break.
Okay, I have a question from Jan. Jan says, can you see anything about my health?
Well, that's a very open question. Let's take a look. And I'm just tuning into Jan and Jan's energy. Just seeing, give me a moment. I sometimes wish that somebody was here to talk to them to get a bit more feedback, but I'm seeing something that I might call sciatica, which is, sometimes people get pain down the sciatic nerve in their lower back and down their legs, which is caused sometimes by a compression in the vertebrae in the spine. So that's the first thing that comes up. And again, it's interesting because we're dealing with the region in the spine that's really close to that first chakra area. And, the last lady, we were talking about having some fear in that area. And I'm seeing actually a similar thing with you, but that it's developed into a physical condition and physical pain. That physical condition and that physical pain physically prevents you from moving forward because you experience some physical pain. So that's the first thing. And what else can I see about your health? Well, I'm seeing some thought patterns. Some thought patterns that give off the frequency of somebody who feels disempowered. So it sort of goes like this: well, I'm unwell, but there's nothing I can do about it. Well, my body's going wrong and it's just going to continue going wrong, and I'm not getting any younger, and things go wrong when you get older, and just a bunch of beliefs that as you believe them, so then you create through them. I'm seeing that if you could change your belief pattern and realize that you have the power to change your energy completely. So just let go of all that programming that says this happens when you get old, or it's a downward spiral if you get ill, or this can't be repaired, or that can't be repaired. And so, always at the heart of any physical condition is a belief system, is a program that you're operating from. And so, you can take all the pills that you want, you can see all the doctors that you want, you can have parts taken out and new parts put in. But unless you address the belief system that is at the core of the issue, it may well recur. And so that's what I'm seeing for you, is let go of some of that programming. And also that there's, just like the last caller, there's some fear of moving forward, and in your case it's turned into a condition, a lower back condition, and a condition of pain shooting down the legs. All right, so we are going to go to a break. Well, hello and welcome back. You're listening to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley, and we would love you to call in. I had a couple of people that forewarned me that they were going to call in today, Corey. Get your dialing fingers out. And in the meantime, I guess we've got some more email questions, do we?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Let's see what it is.
I have a question. What's Polish reggae? Seriously. I got to listen to that radio show.
I know.
I want to see what Polish reggae is. Okay, I have a question from Fred. And Fred said, I've been feeling stuck at work, and where I don't feel passionate about the work anymore. How do I get through this?
Okay. Well, let's take a look at that. And once again, I'm just going to tune into your energy and take a look. Oh, it's interesting. So you're saying you don't feel passionate about the work anymore, and how do you get through this? One of the things that I'm seeing is it looks like your focus and attention is shifting. And so something that once was fulfilling to you is no longer exciting you at the core of your being. So it looks like it's a definite... It's like you're shifting your focus. It's like a turning point on your path. Let's put it that way. So that's one thing. I'm thinking that it's a definite thing that you chose it at a time when you enjoyed it, and it's sort of come full circle, and in a way reached the end of the cycle. So I'm seeing it's because you, in a way, would rather be doing other things. And so I'm seeing that when you are at work, you're kind of not at work because you're not enjoying it. You're off in your dreams, wishing you were doing something else. And so, again, the theme of the evening is grounding. I'm seeing that you're not that grounded when you're at work, precisely because you don't enjoy being there. So you're not there. Your body's there, but you're not there. And then I'm just seeing that the environment itself, it looks a little bit, the environment itself looks a little bit stuck. And so it's sort of like inserting yourself into this matrix of, well, the way I see it, it's almost like, I don't know, everyone in their little cubicles with somebody's gone round the whole place with balls of string and wired up the balls of string so that every time you try and go somewhere you get stuck in an obstacle. And that's just a visual to describe what the energy of the workplace is looking like. So I'm seeing that it's not even just you that's stuck. It looks like the organization itself is stuck, and that there's not much room for people to be, or for you to be creative to the degree that you would like to be creative, that it's just very limiting for you, that you're in a place where you've outgrown that environment. It also looks like the environment has changed while you've been in it as well, so it's not quite the same open-minded place that it was when you first started. So I mean, how to get through it? So the first thing I would say is it almost looks like you might want to be looking for another job, something that would be more in alignment with what you're dreaming about. But while you're there, how to get through it? I mean, rather than escaping and disappearing, you could ground, be present, and bring a higher vibration and to the workplace, and see if some of the people around you don't start matching that higher vibration. Or you could do that exercise that I talked about earlier, where you imagine there's this beautiful gold waterfall flowing through your work environment, and just, you know, a few things that you might help shift the energy. So that's what I'm seeing in the answer to that question. Do we have somebody else?
Yes, we do. And this is from Tabitha. And Tabitha wants to know, am I on the right path with regards to my life purpose?
Okie dokie.
Okie dokie.
We're getting through a lot of questions this evening. Let's see. Are you on the right path with respect to your life purpose? Well, so the short answer to that is yes. And the long answer is, so why are you not aware of it, or why are you questioning it? And because it feels to you like you're going through some struggle and some challenges, and you think, well, if I'm going through some struggle and some challenges, it can't be right. Because if I'm on my path, everything would feel fantastic. And actually that's not true, because this is a planet that allows you to learn from challenges. I mean, it's kind of part of what we do here, is we come here and we face challenges. And through facing those challenges, we learn and we expand our consciousness. And so I would say the opposite is true. If you're going through some challenges, that's also an indication that you're on your path. Because if everything was just a cakewalk, what would you learn from that? If you just came here and everything was just bliss, every day was just peaceful and beautiful, and there was flowers and butterflies and beaches and margaritas, what would you learn? I don't know. Facing challenges is part of the growth cycle on planet Earth. And I'm seeing that's why you're questioning whether you are on your path, because your concept of being on your path is everything feels fabulous and I'm being fabulous and I'm doing something fabulous. And there can be, if you think about your path, let's think about it like it's an undulating up and down hills. Maybe there are moments that do feel like that, but then there are also moments when you're in the valley where it doesn't feel like that. And so I'm saying just let go of your concept about what being on your path is. Let go of your concept about this perfect state of being and enjoyment that you will always feel when you are there, because it's not what it's about. And of course, the challenges are part of the spiritual unfoldment. It's like it looks to me, I'll get to see if I can give you a visual on this, but it looks to me like, here's a good analogy. It's like the snake shedding its skin, okay? Letting go of its old skin. It's like inside, this is the visual I get. It's almost like a volcano that's about to erupt, okay? And on the outside is like, let's say clay, and inside is something that's bubbling up and growing and expanding, and when it expands enough, the clay will break open and fall away, and you will rebirth yourself, and you will come out of the this current aspect of the current growth cycle, and then you'll be on to the next one. So I hope that's answered your question, but that's why you're questioning, am I on my path? Because you're noticing some challenges, and I'm saying that's part of being on your path. Okay, so do we have another question? We're getting through them rapid fire questions this evening, folks.
Okay, I have a question from Claire. And Claire wants to know, how is my spiritual development?
That's such a funny question, and I often have my students wanting to say, how am I doing? As though there's like a score card we can put up and say, A+.
How are you doing, Claire?
So okay, let's take a look at Claire and how am I doing with my spiritual development. The other funny thing about that question is, you are spirit. You are spirit. You always are spirit. Whatever you're going through, you are spirit. But, I guess what we mean by spiritual development or spiritual unfoldment is becoming more conscious and becoming more awakened. And so let's take a look. How are you doing with your spiritual unfoldment? And maybe I'll just take a look at the main growth cycle that you're in at the moment. So we've got a theme this evening which is about perfection and expectations. So I'm also seeing that you're another one who has some perfect expectations of yourself and likes to measure yourself up against those perfect expectations. And I'm actually seeing that it gets in your way of enjoyment. So the current growth cycle that you're in is actually one of, let's call it just learning to have fun and enjoy yourself. And I'm seeing you're right in the middle of it. And you've got this sort of schism that's happening. Because it's sort of like, well, if I'm just kind of having fun and enjoying myself, I'm not doing my spiritual development. it's like I've taken the day off from my spiritual development because I'm, out having fun. And I'm seeing that that's not... There's a lie that you're telling yourself there. So let's take this one's Claire, right? I hope I haven't lost the right person here. So Claire. And how am I doing with my spiritual development? So how you're doing with your spiritual development is you're working on letting go of your expectations about your spiritual development, so that you stop asking, how am I doing with my spiritual development, and just allow yourself to enjoy every moment where you are. Because how am I doing with my spiritual development presupposes that there's some perfect place that I'm meant to be, this perfect place, this thing that I'm meant to achieve, this perfect state of being that I'm meant to develop myself into. And the truth is, you're in while you're in a body, you are in constant unfoldment, unending unfoldment, constant cycles of growth and change. And whether you're consciously aware of it or not, it's kind of happening. And I'm seeing that where you trip yourself up is by measuring yourself against some ideal expectations about your spiritual unfoldment. I hope that makes sense. I think we've got time for one or two more, Corey.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. It's like if I were to ask you, how am I thinking? When you think about it, and it's not to make light of the subject. I know what I know where she's coming from, but when you think about it, it's like the Buddhists say that it doesn't matter which path you're on the right path.
Because that is the path that you're on. Because
that's the path you're on. It doesn't matter where or how or where you're going or where you end up. You always end up where you've got to end up. And spirituality is the same thing. You're on the path that you're on, and that's where you are.
That's right, and you're in the moment that you're in. And so many of us, this is what we do. We project this idea of this perfection state that we're meant to be in, that we are evolving ourselves toward, that we are in this state of moving towards this state of perfection, when the truth is that we're constantly unfolding in every moment.
I think one of the reasons something came to my mind is a Vietnamese I guess personal developer guru, that a Buddhist monk that I was reading a little while back. And one of the things that he said was, we don't take the time to be where we are when we're there. And he uses eating as an example. He says, when we're eating, how often do we take a forkful of food, and as we're chewing that, go for the next forkful? And he says, you never taste the food that way. He says, put down the food, put down the fork, and just chew and enjoy. And it's amazing how food takes on a whole new flavor. And we're always looking for the next step. Like, don't rush through your food to eating, to get to the television or to get to a date or to get anywhere. Or don't rush through doing the dishes. Just enjoy doing the dishes while you're doing them. It's a whole different way of life, and spirituality is the same thing.
And I think you find if you do that, the stress that you put yourself under in order to perfect yourself will drop away.
True. So I have one more question for you. I think we have enough time.
Yeah.
And it says, this is a question from Valerie. And Valerie wants to know, I have been struggling in my relationship for a few years. Is it time to move on?
Okay, let's take a look. Oh, so your relationship is, what a mirror. You're just like mirroring each other and freaking each other out because of it. So I'm seeing when you look at your partner and when your partner looks at you, it's like looking in the mirror, warts and all. Often when we get fed up with someone, or react a lot to somebody, get triggered a lot by somebody, it's not really them that we're reacting to. It's the reflection of ourselves that's coming through that person right back at us. And I'm seeing that's the space you've got yourself into with your relationship, is that like attracts like, right? So you got together with this person because there was such a lot of similarities between you. And that's great for spiritual growth if you can be conscious of when what's being reflected back at you is something that you are uncomfortable with, or that you judge, or that you disown, or that you deny in yourself. And I'm seeing, so it's sort of like this. For you to stay in this relationship, the practice would be every time you look at that person and judge them, every time you get triggered by that person, is refrain from pointing the finger and saying, there's something wrong with you and there's something wrong with this relationship, and adopt a practice of turning within and looking what it is within you that's being triggered and that's being reflected back at you. And then if you can consciously dissolve the things that you want to change within yourself, you will no longer be triggered by the other person, because there won't be anything for that reflection to hook into, if that makes sense. So I'm just seeing you've chosen a relationship which is just like it's just like a huge mirror for you. You're looking squarely at yourself in the face every day, and you're not liking what you're seeing because there are aspects of yourself that you've denied and you haven't dealt with. And so if you leave this relationship, you'll still take those unexplored parts with you, and they'll come up again at some point. And so the choice is yours. You can stay or you can go. But either way, you still have the same inner, for want of a better word, inner work to do. I can't think of a better word, but hopefully you get what I'm saying. So we're at the end of the show, unfortunately. It's been a bit of a whirlwind of questions this evening.
Just that last question, just a very quick comment. It's Valerie, no matter what relationship you are in, you're there.
I know, that's the thing, isn't it?
Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to another Unlocking Your Truth podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips. For more information, go to her website at drlesleyphillips.com. That's drlesleyphillips.com, where you can ask questions or send her an email, and there's many free gifts on there for you as well. Come back again.